Hey guys, it's Ping with Vital MX, and we're here at Glen Helen Raceway today in the museum, which is an incredible spot. A lot of the stars of our sport up on the walls here, and we've got one of them sitting with us today, David Bailey. Thank you for joining us.
My pleasure. It's great to be here.
And what we've got, the reason we wanted to have you out is a buddy of ours, John from Mullet Moto Racing, takes pride in building these old Hondas up, and he bumped into you earlier this year or last year?
Last year was a Hopetown reunion up in Simi Valley, and I heard all about it, raced through the barn and the Europeans coming over, but I wasn't around. I was back east. So I thought, man, what a cool thing to go back up and just be surprised at what I run into. And I was. It was a bunch of cool stuff. But then I saw John, and he had done a replica 250 that was like the Majora bike for Rick Johnson, the green number plate, number 2. And I just liked it. I liked the job that he did on it and the way he explained what his real motive was. I'm not trying to make an exact bike. I just want to, tribute this one and be able to ride it too. And he told me later that he had a 500 and what should he do with it. And then talk started going from there.
Well, and he said that your response, without a whole lot of hesitation, was 500 USGP 1986. Like you said that bike without any hesitation.
Yeah.
Why?
Well, when he told me what bike he had, it's difficult to try to make a works bike, and so to do a production bike is a whole lot easier. And even though he had to modify this a little bit to get it more like the 86, he did the work, and his passion and his attention to detail, and he maybe missed that era a little bit, as a kid growing up and riding, but he paid attention to it enough that what I'm looking at here, you can put this next to my race bike from Carlsbad that day, and it would take somebody real educated to figure out the difference. And so I think it's neat that he did it. I thought that race was real special. It was the first big race for motocross, Wide World of Sports, motocross next right on the freeway. And this was the last time that I ever raced there, the last GP they ever had at Carlsbad, and Rick won it, number 25, and I was second. Completed the sweep, and then got the better of him in the 500. But these bikes were fantastic, and it was a one-off deal. And I thought it was just fitting to make it the last race at Carlsbad.
Well, so this is a 1985, like you mentioned, but it was very similar to the 86 with the exception of the fork in terms of production. So it's got the different fork, but everything else is pretty spot on, like you said. It's got a Tom Morgan tuned engine, so it's like we need more horsepower on a 500.
He said it wheelied.
I'm sure.
But I like he's got the tape on the levers and stock grips, and there's a bunch of things about it that are like, it's mine. It looks like my bike. It's a time travel right now.
Yeah, he's done a fantastic job. So I wanted to just chat with you a little bit about what you remembered about that bike in particular from that season, and then that race in particular.
Well, we raced these bikes right after the Anaheim 86 battle. We went to a Golden State race at Carlsbad, and I rode the 500 only. I didn't want to ride the 250 and show Rick anything. I was like, I want to win the Supercross title, but I rode the 500. He rode both classes, and I beat him. And then I was comfortable on the 500 from the years previous, so I expected to win the GP. And the night before, I felt like a little bit sick or something, and truth be told, I was pretty sick, and I was proud of my performance, real proud of it. But even if I had been 100%, there's no way in the world I was going to beat Rick Johnson there. It was his day and fitting. And it was Brock won in 84, I won in 85, and Rick won in 86. I thought it was kind of neat that we all got a chance to win it and to finish second to your teammate and complete the 1-2. That's what I remember about the day and riding that bike there at Carlsbad.
And you said, you actually showed me a picture that's you coming off Devil's Drop, last lap, and you said all I could muster was a little thumbs up.
Yeah, I mean, I'd seen Rick, and I had copied it once. He tossed his goggles to the crowd. I was beat. I worked real hard to catch up to Wardy, got by him and completed the sweep, and then just one of those and landed, and I rode in, and I couldn't get my gear off. I was cramped up and all messed up, but this bike it got me to the finish line. I didn't have it, but the bike had enough, and I could just sort of be a unit and get there and get the sweep completed.
And I mean, I know they were factory bikes, and you guys had them working great, but it just in my head coming down the downhill at Carlsbad on a 500. I'm not interested at all. I mean, how
Yeah.
sketchy was that?
Very sketchy. And that's where Rick was really fast. And I never got to see him go down it because he was so far ahead of me. I was back there with Lachine and Wardy, and I never saw Rick all day. I heard he was fast. I saw the TV broadcast later. I'm like, oh, no wonder. No wonder I didn't see him. But, you know, for me to ride this bike, there's a picture on the wall behind us where I'm number 6, same bike. And when I realized that Rick had the Supercross pretty dialed, I won Anaheim and thought I got it. And then he reached for more, and he surprised me. I just couldn't beat him. And it was the same in the 250 outdoors. So I just kind of abandoned the 250 practicing, and I started riding my 500. So I was riding this bike all the time, and that picture on the wall behind us is on the Supercross track. I rode it in the woods. I just got to where the bike was just automatic. Yeah, it was a part of me. And I was able to win the championship and then take it over to the Donations and ride against Works bikes in Majora and win again. So it's a special bike.
And what an interesting time where now if somebody said, well, I won Anaheim 1 and then I was out riding my 500 racing a local race the next weekend. I mean, that didn't happen, but just different era, huh?
Totally different era. And I thought it was important to ride. I always had a 125 as well, and always had a 125. And I thought it was important to keep my aggression, getting out of the corners and keeping up momentum. And then too much riding on a 500 would mellow you out. You know, you'll go down the Carlsbad Freeway slow, and that's not good for race pace. So it's good to practice on different size bikes. But that year, this particular year, I knew that if I rode the 500 a lot and got really comfortable on it, tight woods track, Supercross track, big national track, that maybe I could finally knock Rick off the top step, and I finally did it at the end.
And how did that 500 championship go? How many of those rounds did you win?
So I think I won 3 or 4 of them. There was only 6 rounds, so I won my own race at Sugar Tree. I won Binghamton.
Which I think you mentioned, right?
Yeah.
You're sitting on the line thinking, oh man, what? I hope we have hot dog buns. You know, you're worried about the logistics instead of racing.
And it was this bike.
Yeah.
And then I won Binghamton, and then I won Hollister. Okay. And then I just rode nervous just to get the job done at Washougal and won the title, barely. I only won by 4 points or something. And so this bike was a super special bike for Rick because he came right to the team and got on bikes, and he just won everything right away. And for me to win my last championship on this bike, and to see him come along and go, hey, you know, instead of doing that, because there's been a lot of David Bailey bikes, which I super appreciate, can't believe it, but something like this hasn't been done. I thought it kind of married it to the USGP and a final time.
Yeah. What do you remember about that race bike that year specifically? Anything like with the way it handled, the way the power worked, some of the things you guys did to it?
I remember it was hard to start. So I'd stand with my left foot on the stand, you know, and then I'd already be up in the air, and I'd get this kickstart at the very top and just everything I had, and I still wouldn't quite fire. It would let me know, like, close one. I'll start
pretty good.
I'll start on the next kick, a little more. So starting it was difficult, but riding it was really fun because it was like a 250, but just faster. And the thing that was kind of deceiving about it is when you look at the tank, it's almost like a Baja. It's huge. But when you're on the bike, it was really comfortable. It didn't have that narrow, sleek look, but it worked great. And obviously, I mean, every time Rick and I were riding it, and Johnny, we were first, second, third most of the time. And it was just, I didn't really need to do anything to it. I just get on it and ride it.
And you said it was mostly stock. You guys weren't doing a bunch of engine work or anything else?
Not much. I mean, everything was just factory parts, you know, but it wasn't like they had to go into the dyno and make it faster. It was already fast enough. We had just come off of the 84 bike, which you had on by your show when I was on, and then the 85 Works bike, and they mixed up the power a little bit, and so when they got to the 85 and 86 production bikes, it was really dialed in. So it was fast enough already.
And what about handling?
You handle great. It felt like a 250.
Is that right?
Yeah.
You didn't feel like you were riding a much heavier bike?
No. The only thing I noticed is, you know, you get that you know, where it's like when you're going into a tight corner, you're on the clutch because it feels like it wants to stall. And that's why I rode it on my Supercross track in the woods, so I could get the hang of that and where I could keep it from not stalling. That was the only tricky part because there's so much compression. It's hard going down the Carlsbad Freeway. It's tough to get stopped down there.
Yeah, I'll bet.
So, you know, you had to learn how to use the transmission and kind of pump the track and everything on these bikes. Just pay more attention.
Was there a track that you liked best on the 500, you know, versus a 250 or a 125?
My track in Virginia I liked.
Because you were
I rode there all the time, and it was perfect soil. But I had a good time at Redbud that year. We rode all the guys used to be separate, but in that particular year, we rode the 250 Nationals, Wardy, Johnny, me, Rick, Brock, and we also rode the 500s. And I just remember getting onto the 500, and I had practiced on it so much that it was, I started feeling confident, like I'm going to win this. And then Rick won the first race. Johnny and I crashed into each other and got up. It was Rick's birthday, and the next race was at my track. And thankfully, I think, because I won both motos, took the points lead, and never let go of it. And special year and a special throwback.
Yeah, it's beautiful. So we're gonna go give this bike a ride. I'm anxious to see kind of your reaction when you hear it and see it and smell the exhaust and all that.
I can't wait to hear it.
So stay tuned. That video is coming, and I just want to thank you for coming out, man. I know you took part of your day to come and just check this out and sit with us. So
I really appreciate it. And when I see somebody with as much passion as John has and what he's done with this bike, then I have to be here.
He's got a lot of time and money invested into this,
and I want to be here.
Yeah, he plans on. We're gonna ride it today. He's gonna have you sign it, and it's going up on a wall. That's gonna be it. So.
Cool.
Pretty neat. Stay tuned for that second video. If you haven't seen his Whiskey Throttle show, go check it out. Very, very fun and emotional walk through your whole life and career. It was incredible. So thanks a ton for coming up, and stay tuned for that test video.